Welcome back to the Here For You podcast. I'm Matthew Timler, and this is
Tanner Thorne.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about sales and some of the different dynamics within it. How about you just talk a little bit about your experience in sales, and then we're going to dive into maybe some of the other aspects.
Sure. So sales for me has been something I've been doing since, God, I want to say it was 3. Getting mom to bite on getting me a candy bar at the store was kind of the start of it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since then, it's just been a whirlwind, and it's used every day. And I think that's something that's always hovered around myself. And a lot of folks who don't think they're in sales really are, because that's just part of everybody's jobs. But for me, it really started when I was a chimney sweep, when I was in the teenage years, talking with homeowners and getting them to buy literal fireplaces that were things that were 10, 15, 20 grand. As a 16-year-old, like, man, I'm just glad to be getting paid minimum wage here. And I'm selling someone 100 times what I make in a year. And that was kind of what attracted me to be in sales, learn about sales, and just understand the nuances and the variables, because it's something that is ever changing depending on where society's at. So that's, in a nutshell, how it's gotten me to this point. I mean, I've been very blessed to see sales, be in different trainings, different theories, learn and meet different people who've just been phenomenal at it. And it's something you get to control your own destiny with more often than not. The harder you work, the better you get at it. It's just fine tuning your skills. For us in our realm, it's no different than our electricians learning how to install an outlet and being able to do motor controls, which are some of the most complex things we can do in the electrical field.
Cool. Well, yeah, you do have a really big background in it. And I mean, that's your primary purpose with us, is facing the customers and selling products, and you're really good at it. So the first 7 seconds that you are either introducing yourself or talking to a customer, talk about the importance of that.
I tell you what, let's do one better. You want to play a game?
Sure.
Awesome. Here we go. So close your eyes.
Yep.
So we're going to go through this. I'm going to walk us through it, and I'll let you know when to open your eyes.
Okay.
So describe to me how our guys are in the field. What do they look like when we walk onto a job site? Imagine a car wash. What do they wear? What are we expecting them to wear? And how do we make sure that they're taken care of?
Well, they're wearing a hard hat, safety glasses, probably a vest, probably wearing pink, safety toes. Definitely all in our pink, because there's the professionalism aspect, and probably a smile on their face, at least walking up to the door, making sure that their clothes are not crinkled and they're clean. And
okay, so you have a pretty good image in your head, right?
Yeah.
You have an expectation. You already have this is my perfect first impression of what I'm picturing. So go ahead and open your eyes, take a look.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, I'm one of your electricians, right?
Yeah.
I meet the expectations. I'm doing everything I need to. That's stereotyping.
Yeah.
Right? You have the impression. Now, let's play again. So go ahead and close your eyes. Matt, you just found out you have to go in for open heart surgery. You found the best doctor in the country, multitude of referrals. Explain what that person looks like.
I'd probably well put together. Not a lot going on with I'd want to see that they're probably clean shaven, a decent haircut, because there's attention to detail. They're operating on my heart. For some reason, I'm picturing them with glasses. I would say obviously they're wearing a smock, or I think that's what it's called, but the doctor's uniform. You probably have an MD badge on, or a surgeon badge on. I don't know what color. Probably white.
Okay. So what about their mannerisms? What would you expect out of them?
I feel like there's 2 different ways I can go with that. Part of me would prefer somebody who's eccentric and very detail oriented, not overly great at communicating. They're very direct is kind of my preference, but I also feel like some people would prefer a less direct individual who they can tell know what they're doing, and they have a deep understanding of like how the human body works.
Perfect. So go ahead and open your eyes. Saw, dude, I'm your doc. You ready to take open heart surgery?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't.
But right there, you paint a perfect image of what you want that person to be. Your first 7 seconds says everything.
Yep.
So going through that, and how did you feel when you saw what you pictured with the construction site?
It's to be what was expected on the construction site. It's exactly kind of the image that I painted in my head. And if I were to see that, there's a level of comfort that comes with it.
So now seeing me in this getup with the doctor situation, I could have the best credentials. I could have the most referrals. I could have the best success rate.
Yep.
7 seconds, you would turn me away.
I would think that they had the wrong doctor in the room and that you were supposed to be on vacation.
But that goes to show very quickly why those first 7 seconds are so important and how pivotal they are to the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
If the person you're going to meet or have a conversation with has an expectation in their mind, if you only make a phone call, they only get to hear your voice. And we'll talk about that later because that's part of impression, right? And when they see you for the first time, it's different than a blind date your friends set you up with because you really don't know. You hope the image they're painting for you is right. But if you have the image and it doesn't meet expectations, you're immediately turned off. Your brain sets you up that way, and it's part of a flight or fight response, and it's part of our reptilian side from our ancestors from back in the day. That's what's been discovered. And that's why when you either meet the stereotype that person's painting or you're above it, you put it in a different light than if you're not, which is why something I've learned over time in that first 7 seconds is you can either dress to what the stereotype is or you can blow someone away by going above and beyond. And that's why I have a pink suit. Nobody expects an electrician to have a full-fledged pink suit when they come to like an American Cancer event. But it draws attention, it's a conversation starter, and it shows that you're willing to do something different than everybody else. So that's the first 7 seconds.
Cool.
What is your thought process on the first 7?
So I agree with you in a lot of aspects on the 7 seconds. I like to kind of play a psychological battle with people though, because like I have always been surrounded with individuals who are like, after you hit a certain threshold, they're looking for something from you. So I'm not constantly trying to sell. I'm constantly trying to gauge people in the room. So my first 7 seconds is almost like a complete opposite of your 7 seconds. I always prefer to dress down. I always prefer to dress more casual and be the more like subtle person in the room to see what level of respect they give to all people. Because for me, it shows an indication of what type of human being they are, and you know how big I am on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't get respect in a room because I came in with holy jeans or like I have mud on my boots and I happen to be wearing work boots, and the person may not realize I'm actually the owner of the company and they start to act differently towards me, I already know that I don't want to be doing business with them. I know that they only give people respect based on what their appearance is. And I'll always allow that for like a little bit, but if you've heard words come out of my mouth and like, you know how I talk and like the way that I navigate conversations, and if respect isn't earned like through that and it's strictly, you've immediately checked out from the appearance, I just kind of write them off because for me, it's a clear indication where your values lie. So, and you know how big we are on the values internal to the company. And I want to directly align ourselves with people that think just like us.
Absolutely.
If I come in as a homeless person, like I believe that there should be some level of respect there. It's like, okay, so how did they get to the point that like they're actually at this meeting and like, who is this? And it's not just immediate, hey, they look like trash. I'm going to disregard everything that they're saying. Because to me, I always preach that the least educated person in the room or like somebody who's like the newest in an industry still has something to provide. And if other people aren't willing to acknowledge that as well, then I really don't want to be around them. So,
and so it's funny you bring that up because every individual, and this is the beauty of society, has their own unique disqualifiers. So my unique disqualifiers are different than yours. I prefer to have that conversation and be able to disqualify you throughout seeing who you are. Your unique disqualifiers because of where you're at as far as being an owner of, you have a different perception. Whereas my role, I have the opportunity to meet everyone and say, I don't want to work with this half.
Yep.
I've had a conversation. I don't like you. I don't, and it's not that it's necessarily like, but maybe it doesn't sync. There's no syncing of culture. There's no syncing of values. There's nothing here that can be a exchange to mutually benefit both of us. But this group, there's something that's curious to me.
Mhm.
Of either they need our service or we can exchange value in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the professional setting. It could be personal setting. It could be something I needed for my personal life that, heck, I didn't even know was there, and it's now brought up. And it goes hand in hand with the social meter that everybody's always talking about. My wife, love her to death. She's an introvert with extrovert tendencies. Hers fills up very fast. I found through just repeatedly going out and putting myself in uncomfortable situations, I will work a room. And it's meant to be in a polite mannerism of, I want to meet everybody, especially people that I haven't met before, because you could have a perspective that I haven't seen, and I will seek you out. I will literally be like a homing missile of, hey, I've already talked to you guys. I'd love to see you, but I already know what you're all about. I would love to catch up with you in a second, but these folks over here, I don't know how long they're going to be here.
Yeah.
And my mind works in a clock of, this event's 3 hours. But if I get into a really deep conversation over here and there's a multitude of doors to be opened,
Yep.
It's almost like a kid in a candy shop, because I want to know. And it's just that knowledge sponge. And that's, in my opinion, what makes salespeople really good at their job, when they have that type of insatiable appetite where they're willing to go find it and not necessarily wait to purview a room. Not that that's a bad thing by any means. And just watch the mannerisms, because I'll do that also. Like if I go get a drink of water, or I go grab some food, because you burn a lot of energy talking. Mm-hmm. And that's my high yellow that comes out all the time.
Yep.
But people watching is half the fun as well.
Yep.
If you're engaged in a conversation, or you're listening to someone else who's having their own conversation, but then you start watching the room of, hey, who's off by themselves? Who's engaged in conversation? Why is there a crowd of people? I mean, I kind of blame it on my ADHD, to be honest with you. It's like a dog looking at a squirrel and chasing it.
Yeah.
And some of the best salespeople I've ever met are that way. We're multitasking for if it's proven or not proven or whatever it is, or how fast the brain works. The more you notice in that small period of time, the opportunities are a plethora, and your time compounds in that thought process.
Yeah.
And once you get past that first 7 into moving towards disasters or whatever things of people liking you, that's half the battle. And most salespeople have to be some level of a chameleon, because you have to get people to like you at least a little bit so they start to open. Otherwise, they just disregard you of just being someone who's slimy, someone who really doesn't have genuine qualities of why they're there. And your own personal value and characters have to play a role in everything you do, because you are your brand, you're your reputation.
Yep.
And it could be very disastrous if you skew from that line.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've ever had those situations that have happened to you when you were out in public.
Yeah, it's crazy how the human mind works, and like all the different things that kind of really go along with it. And you've touched on like a lot of different aspects with it. I mean, when you're referencing like out in public, were you referencing how I interpret things, or were you asking more like when I'm out there and I'm analyzing and I'm taking into consideration whether I want to develop a relationship? I guess, can you clarify what you were really asking?
So when we were talking about the 7-second impression, and you're talking about walking in with holy jeans and mud on your boots,
Yep.
What allows you to go further? What characteristics allow you to, as you're going through that, qualify a person, and then you engage in conversation? What makes you like them as an owner?
So immediately, the first thing I look at is body language. So for me, if I walk into the room and I see somebody facing me, and when I am communicating with them, I start to see them like close off to me, and I can see that there was that initial eye lock and the up down and the indication of like, oh, okay, this person seems like they're a little out of place. I read very much into their body language initially. So there's a deep understanding of like, hey, how open is this person to having a conversation with me? Do they seem like they're in it, or do they seem guarded, like they're waiting to respond? Because generally you can feel that, like when somebody's looking at you and there's the analyzation of like, here's how their hands are folded, this is how they're tapping. Like you can see little impatient balances with their body language that they're trying to respond or they're actually actively listening to you and they're engaged. And if I see that they're actively listening to me, so then I've realized like, hey, they've gotten past that boundary. Like they're not closed off to me anymore. But if I continue to see that those walls of like defense are up, it's an indicator to me that it's like, hey, this person is not giving me the respect of wanting to have a conversation. They're doing it out of necessity to save their own reputation in this circumstance because they don't fully understand potentially like what's happening or like who's in the room and like who's who. So for me, that's the first thing I look at. Then I start to navigate the conversation of like, outside of body language, what are they really trying to do with their statements? Are they trying to learn more about me? Like, can you tell that they're poking and prodding on actually learning, or are they just trying to find weapons per se to be able to like leverage against me or create pressure? So, and you just kind of navigate the conversation from there. Like if you start to feel that, then you're just kind of more careful with the way that you're wording things and you respectfully just get yourself out of the conversation. But it becomes very authentic, and like the more that you do it and the more you navigate those conversations and the more organic it starts to feel, you start to have realizations of like who's making that baseline connection and who wants to do business with you, who morally aligns with you, and you can quickly like jump in and out, like you said, a chameleon, and you get to be authentic with it. And I think you touched on something that's extremely important in sales is you have to have a belief behind what you are doing, because the best salespeople truly believe in their product. Like at the end of the day, you're not questioning like, oh yeah, can our field staff like really do this? Like it's, I'm going to sell a line of bull schnocky. And like, at the end of the day, I know that we can't follow through on this. If you truly believe that everything can happen on the back end, you don't have all of these little safeguards in place. Like you get to have that open dialogue, that honest conversation, and you don't have to worry about what you're saying because everything you're saying is true and you're being transparent. So for me, those are some really big things that I always I look at and I'm navigating in the conversation, especially on first meeting someone.
Okay. So you're very much looking at body language, right? Very much looking at intentionality of if that's their values or if they're trying to get to the point of just, hey, what do you need? And finding a true pain and trying to leverage that against you, right? And you're just trying to see if they're a genuine person. You focus on character and can you truly have a relationship down the road? And whether that's personal or professional is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It's virtually every conversation that I like navigate when I first meet somebody. I've gotten to a point in my life that I don't care to spend time talking to somebody that does not value my time nor values their time in the aspect of actually wanting to build a relationship. Not every conversation is going to be valuable. Not every moment in time is going to be valuable, but you can tell the intent. And I think that's what I genuinely seek out is intent behind things so that I know how to navigate it, because we all know that there's human aspects to everything. And if you know someone's intent, they're allowed to make mistakes and you can like see through it. And it's not something that you're visualizing as being a weapon against you. It's not something that you're visualizing as being a leverage point against you or trying to sell you something. And I think that's the importance of sales, is to make it feel organic and to not make it feel like, wow, he's asking these questions so that he can try to sell me something later. Like, I always preach, try to think about the future for the customer. Like we're not trying to sell things like the here and now. It's okay, maybe they don't need it now. And we need to have that honest conversation with them that keep your money. Like this is not something you need to do right now. So,
And that goes against everything that's in sales.
yeah.
Like most sales folks, it's I have an A to B, and I need to figure out how to shorten it so that way I can replicate it and do it faster. And I think that's what attracted like you and I when we had first met, even before I was part of PLB, was just that, no, good, you're here. And that was when I was still in insurance. I mean, we talk about that still to this day of, no, here you go, just go fix these couple of things. And it threw you completely off guard because you were expecting that I was going to sell you on something. But that's my value approach. I had no intentionality of saying, just give me your policy and I'll make this be a thing. Instead, it was just go fix these loopholes. But I appreciate you as a person. I understand what you do as a company and the culture around it. And that is something that makes us completely different and allows us to be very tactile in how we do things, because we have that relationship mindset wherever we go around the world as we continue to expand of it's for you. You're the customer. And that is something that is getting lost, in my opinion, in society as well as in the sales room, because it's how can I get the sale? And I'll see you later. The customer service aspect isn't touched on nearly enough in the sales role in my opinion, sales is always a promise. And the team that supports the sales team, such as the operations is what it's generally called, is the proof. Because the best salespeople in the world can't do it all. They can't. Doesn't matter if it's a product, if it's a service, if it's a subscription, it doesn't matter, because you're only as good on this front side as what you have on the back side. And that is something that you only have so much time in a day. I mean, I still get messages to this day from past clients from different industries I've been in saying, I wish you were back. I missed the way you did this, of whatever it was. And it's typically followed up with a because. And they'll say, because I had no communication, or because no one talked to me, or because you were there to remind me and take care of me as I continued to grow. And that is something that everyone can continue to expand on. And it doesn't matter whether you're the janitor or the CEO, but human decency still plays a factor in everything that everybody does. And even if you can pick someone up in the smallest fashion, you don't know where you just put them on for a trajectory. And that is the curious side of myself, of loving conversations and hearing the stories of people and being able to understand. And it's not always necessarily finding a way to weasel in to sell something, but maybe I can make a connection. Maybe I can be a catalyst, or people around me can be catalysts for each other to make good introductions to good people. And that is where sales is just a fancy word for, in my mind, playing mental chess. And I don't know how you feel about that or how you think of sales, because there's so many variables. You have to be able to pluck them in an instant. Even in a conversation that we're having today, I'm actively listening to you, making eye contact with you, making the nonverbal cues of body language. I don't even know if you've noticed it, but I've been mirroring you since we started this podcast. The way you're sitting, the way you're holding your hands, the way you're making eye contact, that's built into me habitually, because it allows for a comforting environment. And now you're going to think about it because I brought it up. So every time you move your hands, but when I brought it up to people, all of a sudden it's like, hey, I shift, now you shift. Now we're getting the whole body language out of the way. Now we dive deeper, because now we found those nonverbal cues of each other. That's fascinating to me on a psychological aspect, that it doesn't matter if we've known each other for years or if it's a complete stranger. When you start doing it, it's like a snake charming act.